and there's a lot for us to discuss today. I'll be reacting to some um, object truth that you need to understand about investing in Lagos. First of all, I want to quickly say thank you to everybody who actually called and then sent their condolences concerning the passing of my mother. For some of you who have been wondering, where have I been? Why have I not been online? My mom passed to glory last week Wednesday, so I have, in fact, even my normal YouTube videos that I've been posting, I've not posted for a while. So I just decided to come because some of my real estate investors have been worried that are you still in the business of real estate? I'm just trying to put all the arrangements. So my mother passed to glory. That was last week Wednesday. So we've been running around trying to ensure that the normal burial rites and everything is being performed. So my absence is not intentional. It's not out of negligence. It's just out of necessity. And so I want to start by saying a very big thank you to everybody that have um, responded. Thank you very much. So today we are going to talk about the Lagos State Real Estate Regulations, what you need to know, and a lot of people have not joined this online. So I will just it's going to be a brief session. It's going to be a brief session. I don't intend to waste time at all. So I'll just quickly explain some things. And okay, so a video will coming on to my channel this Wednesday, Wednesday, by weekend by God's grace. So I'll be uploading a video to so that you can be that's it, so that you can be aware. So please let me know where you're joining from. For people who have joined, thank you very much. I appreciate this. I'm going to be quickly. I'll just quickly talk about some important things that you need to know about the Lagos property market, the regulations. So I need you to go to the room, get me the fan in the ladies' room, get me an handkerchief and come and turn on this AC. All right, so let's quickly talk about that. Now, the news about not that room, the other one. The fan there doesn't make noise. All right, so let's quickly talk about the Lagos State regulation. Now, the news of the 176 illegal estates that happened dominated the scene, and I'm impressed with the level of awareness, and I know most of my colleagues must have discussed extensively on what it meant and some of these things. So I would not want to talk more about it, but because I'm going to quickly explain some certain things that you need to know about it. The most important thing, but I'm going to focus today's analysis essentially on the basic regulations, things you need to know about Lagos, and things you also need to understand going forward as you are investing in Lagos property market. So I'm going to talk about investing basically is that going forward, if you are investing in Lagos, you cannot invest with sentiment anymore. That's the first thing you need to know. As far as Lagos real estate market is concerned, you cannot invest with sentiment. Please turn on that AC from work and turn on the fan. The middle button. Good. So, what are the basic regulations? Decrease it is making noise. I don't want the noise to be entering the fan. Off it. Don't worry. Off it. Turn on the AC. So, what are the basic regulations that you need to know when you are investing in Lagos? Now, the first thing you need to know, as far as Lagos is concerned, is that you have not turned it off from the wall, for crying out loud. So what are the basic advice for this? I apologize. Oh yeah, from the remote. Okay, the light is low. Turn it off. All right, so just get me handkerchief. So what are those basic things? Three things you need to put attention to as we go into the Lagos State real estate markets. Number one, we all know what has been happening between Mr. Scott and P1. We all know how Mr. Scott has repeatedly called out this real estate company. There were also other incidences that happened even before the Mr. Scott, Igomas, and P1 real estate. So what is actually happening basically is that the business of real estate in Lagos is taking some dynamic turns. And I predicted, I think early last year, that it is not going to be business as usual as it has been in time past. And I know basically that with this repeated is this handkerchief? With this repeated call for regulations, government is not going to sit down, fold their hands, and watch the image and the reputation of Lagos to be thrown on into the mud. Now, this is also to expressly state that I am not trying to say, okay, that I'm not an advocate for Lagos State, okay? And a lot of people have, they have constantly sent me personal messages. Am I an obedient, or am I, call it whatever they call it? I am not a politician. I'm not into politics. I talk mostly strictly real estate. So, with all these happenings, the P1 and Mr. Scott, the one that happened with the diaspora that called on the Lagos State government is going to be introducing a lot of things. And what we have just seen with the 176 listed illegal estates, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There will still be more incidents and more regulations that will be coming. Now, what are the basic regulations that you should look out for as an investor? The first regulation you should look out for basically is that you need to understand that the business of real estate in Lagos is changing on a different perspective, and you need to understand what these things are. The first thing basically is that you need to work strictly with real estate companies who are ready and willing to work with regulations of Lagos. What are these regulations? Number one, approvals. When I talk about approvals are of different typologies. So I'm going to be stating this so that if you are buying your next properties, you know the questions you should be asking your realtor, and you know the questions you should be asking your the developer. Now, what are the basic approval? The first one is the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Emergency Board, which is called the LASRERA. Now, the LASRERA was introduced, I think, 2 years ago to look into the cases of diasporan fraudulent cases of real estate. And this LASRERA has mandated it that every real estate development company must be registered under them. And so if there are related cases, okay, of fraud, marginalization, let's name them. Now, when a company or a real estate development company that is registered under LASRERA, it makes it extremely easy for government to look into their record and call them into caution. So going forward, if you are buying development, if you are buying properties, ensure that you are working with a company that is registered. You are buying properties from a real estate company that has LASRERA registration. Number two, then you also need to understand the activities of the real estate companies. Now, when we talk about the activities of the real estate company, most real estate investors are only concerned with company only being registered under the CAC, which obviously is one of the basic criteria for doing real estate. However, it goes beyond that. Now, you want to understand what the company's activities, more importantly, their tax record are. Now, a lot of real estate companies today are finding it extremely difficult to perfect their property documentation, and the reason for that is that most of these guys are evading taxes. There are some lot of investigations we've done for some diasporan investors, and we find out that the reason why some people didn't gazette their accession while some C of O's were not signed is due to the fact that some of these companies are not paying taxes, and these are some of the requirements, and these obviously will become a major tools, okay, that will enable government to clamp down their activities and obviously take their properties that are not under regulations. Then the next thing to look out for basically is the companies that have all the approvals. When we talk about the approval, I'm talking about the documentation, the excision, the designs, the rules, and you also look at the approved layouts. Now, when we talk about the approved layout, what are the criteria or the things is required to be in a layout, or why did some people found it extremely difficult, okay, to get their approval layout done? Number one is due to the fact that some of these people were not building in accordance with some government regulations. Now, when we talk about regulations, like for instance, if you are doing an apartment, there are some stipulated parking space that should be designated, okay, to each residence. Number two, there's a type of soil report that must be done, and this report must be done in accordance to the Lagos State Building Management Control. In case you don't know, I'm saying it now. Number three, also in the building approval, then they must also carry out a due diligence test, which is also called the PAL. For those who are building or using PAL, there must also be done a PAL integrity test must also be conducted to also ensure the solidity of the PAL. So these are some of the things that is being required before approvals are given. And for those who are finding it extremely difficult to get their layout approval being done, is simply due to the fact that majority of these guys are cutting corners. Yes, they are cutting corners. And because of the fact that the news, okay, of fraud, this person calling out this developer, this person calling this developer, it's becoming an eyesore to a state of high repute like Lagos. And this is why governments are introducing some of these regulations. What you have just seen is one out of several that will be coming. So this is why it is very important. So in going forward, if you are buying real estate, so what are the basic? Like I said, this video is going to be very brief. I'll try as much as I can for the video to be very, very brief, so that of course I will also try as much as I can to be here tomorrow, if I have the time, because I have some couple of site inspections I have to do. So these are some of these things that you should know. So in other words, if you are buy real estate from a company that has the financial capacity to work in accordance to the stipulated regulations. So these are some of those things that I sincerely want to quickly discuss today. Okay, so these are some of those things you need to know. So what are those things that you need to know? Lagos State regulations. What are the basic things you need to know? Number one, not all real estate companies can afford to abide by these regulations. Not all real estate companies can afford to abide with this regulation. Now, I'm not trying to say that they will deliberately avoid these regulations, but the reality and facts clearly states that doing real estate in Lagos is expensive. It is, and many of the reason why some of these people will struggle is that many people don't have the right information at their disposal. So you should understand. Another thing you also need to know basically is that when buying real estate, going forward, moving forward, the thing is that you need to prioritize brand over price. You need to prioritize brand over price. Now, when the Lagos listed the 176 estates that they consider to be illegal, I saw some companies, I saw some lists, um, I saw some names of reputable estate companies that I know very well, that were included in that list. And you know, the truth basically is that when I saw that, I knew that this obviously should not call for panic. This obviously should not call for panic. And you know, when I spoke, I think I mentioned it in the last video I did. I talked about there could be, you know, a scenario of a possible omission or a clerical effort, and of course it was confirmed. And I can assure you that by the time government is listing those people will not be there. So it might be some one or two issues and glitches that must have resulted to that. But basically, prioritize brand over price. Now, the reality now is when you are buying properties in Lagos, Nigeria, three important things you must put into consideration. When you're buying properties in Lagos, Nigeria, there are three important things you must put into consideration. Number one, the experience and the organization of the company you are buying real estate from. Now, I've seen several scenarios, clear case scenarios of dramas in my years of practice. I've seen clear case scenarios of real estate companies, okay, just disappearing off the scene. I've seen clear case instances of companies who struggle to allocate. I've seen clear case scenarios of serious land crisis. When I talk about land crisis, I've witnessed a situation whereby Omonile, you know, the ancestral owners of land, coming to site with sophisticated weapons. And the long and short of everything basically is that, in as much as fact that most of these unfortunate circumstances of events, most times they are not always they are not always the fault of the developers. Sometimes some unforeseen thing happen, and this explains why Lagos real estate is very, very dramatic. So, however, I can tell you, I can categorically tell you that I've worked with some real estate development company that they have 100% track record of delivery. Now, does that mean they don't have Omonile related issues? Does that mean, okay, that they don't face confrontations from harms, land grabbers and likes? You know, I think what should be the focal point of this conversation now should be, how have these big brands, when I talk about the big brands, I'm not paid to do publicity here, so I will not be mentioning it. But when I talk about big brand, if you have been following the Lagos real estate development history, you will know what the name of these big brands. How come these big brands have been able to manage situations like this, and they have consistently delivered on their promises? That basically is now where the experience, the expertise, and of course the connections that those companies have. Now, it's not just about connection. I have seen how some companies have a sophisticated administrative structure whereby they solve problems, and these problems does not even affect any of their real estate investors. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that I've witnessed different scenarios whereby real estate companies are customer focused, and they will go to any length to address any issues. I've witnessed a scenario whereby a real estate development company sold a property to one of our clients, and there was an intense land crisis. Land crisis in the sense that, but you know that The reason why this particular real estate development team will forever have my respect is due to the fact that this real estate development company went as far as allocating a land of higher value. When I talk about higher value, as at the time we bought that property, we bought for 15, my client bought it for 15 million. And there was a case of serious disputes. Now, it's not as if that this real estate developer cannot resolve these disputes. The only issue that we had as at that time basically is that he cannot give, okay, a specified date at which that dispute will be resolved. So what he did basically was that for him not to compromise on the date of the allocations that he has, that he has promised his investor, he left the land that which my client bought for 15 million in that Lekki axis, okay, since of the fact that there was an issue on it, and he allocated a land that was selling for 30 million, a land of times 2 of what is sold. A land of times 2 of what is sold. And when I explained to the clients, till tomorrow, we still cannot believe that he did that. But something basically, okay, just struck me that this particular real estate developer prioritized his investors' interest over his own personal gain. Those are brands. See, there are some real estate companies that will have intense land grabbing issues, and they will go their length, they will go their ways just to ensure that you don't lose a dime in that structure. In fact, I've seen people who have given higher property value than what they sold. Now, what exactly is now the point? The point basically is that integrity is of different class. And one of the easiest way you can find yourself in an unbearable or unpleasant situations over time is when you allow price to determine who you buy from and who not to. I'm not trying to say, or I'm not insinuating that you should not buy what you cannot afford. I'm not saying you should go beyond your budget just to own properties. But what I'm trying to say basically is that a 300 square meter of land in a secured, safe, and being managed by a reputable real estate developer is way, way, way better than 3 acres or 2 acres of a land with a developer that has history of what? Compromise. So sometimes it's not about the quantity of the land. Sometimes it's based on what? The quality and the safety of that investment. And these are some of the things. So what you should know, prioritize brand over price. Number 2, do your own personal due diligence if you are buying properties in Lagos. Now, one of the reasons why I personally stopped doing due diligence for some real estate investors, because some clients have reached out to me, okay, a lot of them earlier this year, several years before, a lot of real estate investors have reached out to me that, okay, I want to buy property from this, and my realtor seems to be hiding some information from me, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And they will also come back and say, okay, Mr. Adejare, can you please help us? Now, I got to a point, basically, where I now realized that some people are good at using people. I'll not just go beyond that. I really don't like the way manner I've been treated by people that I have gone extra mile to ensure that they don't waste money. Some people that have gone extra mile to ensure I give them a comprehensive report about the place they want to buy, and give them a comprehensive report on the circumstances surrounding that location. So I personally stopped entertaining, help me check, help me do this, help me do this. In fact, there was a case of an investor. He called and he said he was going to give me 10,000. Can imagine the disrespect, that he was going to give me 10,000 to put fuel in my car and help him to go and check his land. The land that I was not the one that sold, the land that I don't even know how far it will be from my office, and the disrespect of all, basically. So sometimes I've seen instances whereby our people sometimes treat bad with evil, and I'm so sorry to say this, that is why a lot of people today are still buying fraudulent, and of course they're wasting money in the wrong real estate transaction. So I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to say it with every form of words. So I just decided to stop due diligence. In fact, it got to a point that due diligence was now competing with delivering from people who are bought real estate through me. So I had to designate it. I had to give out, which obviously I shouldn't have done in the first place. I gave out the numbers of some of our surveyors, some of our lawyers, and people that could just help them check. And the response I even got from the people I gave their response was not pleasant. So I just got to find out that they're just interested in getting information and not showing the rightful gratitude. For crying out loud, a lot of people that bought will have spent hundreds of millions on properties that will turn out to be problematic. But we have tried, we have looked at it from our own point of view as a Nigerian factor. Let's help our brothers. We know how hard they work, but how have we been treated? We've been treated badly, fairly. We have been insulted. There have been instances whereby I've bought fuel from my own personal money to drive, and basically the client was not just responding anymore. So basically, that is. But what I'm trying to say basically is that prioritize due diligence. And what are those basic things you should check? Number one, you need to check the developer's track record. Now, when I talk about track records, a lot of people misinterpret, or will I say misunderstood, what I meant by track record. Track record is not he has sold 20 estates. Track record is not he has allocated 500 people. Well, that could be some considerable part of what you should consider when you're looking at track record, but that should not form the core of looking at the developer's track record. The track record you should focus on basically is for the ones that have sold 20-30 estates. Okay, I'm giving you one simple expo. As a real estate developer, it's a simple expo. Now I want to look at their track record. What exactly should I focus on? Out of the estates they have sold, how many of them are still under their possession? That's number one. When I talk about possession, I'm talking about lands that they've sold that they have not lost to land grabbing, they have not lost to court cases, they have not lost to any government project, maybe bridge, road. A lot of people lost their properties to the coastal road. Now, a lot of people have they've developed different instances of what might have actually have happened. Basically, true. So it's not really a factor like that. Though there are some things that might be responsible for that, but I'm not here to discuss that in essence. But what I'm trying to say in essence basically is that how many properties have they sold? How many of those sold properties, those sold properties that are still under their possession? That's track record. Now, for the ones they've allocated, what are, apart from the ones that are majorly for land banking, the ones that they have sold as buy and build, the question is, how many of these ones have they developed to an extent that you can say they have tried? You also want to look at that. The other thing you also want to look at basically is documentation. How frequently have they sold properties without title? So these are the important things you should look out for. Now, I would have said that you should also include so let me say this, because sometimes not all informations are are for the public. So I would say I apologize, okay? But I'll just limit it to that. So if it is Lagos that you are buying properties, if it is Lagos that you are making your investment, the most important of all that you should look out for basically is, are these developers working with the regulations? Because you see, if the person you are buying property from, the saddest of all is that I've I've spoken with someone, and I said, can I have a copy of your approved layout? And the guy looked at me. He said, which one be approved layout again? And this is a developer that have sold acres to people. So the saddest part of all is that most of these guys are not even aware of this regulation. So how can you now ensure, okay, that they follow regulations that majority of them are not aware of? So as far as Lagos is, I don't know for other states. Okay, let's say for instance you're looking at Ogun State, Ibadan, Delta. Please help me with locations. But Accord. Now we all are seeing what is happening in Abuja. So Abuja and the likes. In fact, Abuja is not even a place where you have to even play with regulations, because with what minister is excellency, honorable minister Wike is doing, you can't afford to even buy properties anywhere in Abuja. That one is a case or a discussion for another day. So as long as Lagos State is concerned, ensure you are working. And how do you know? Look out for companies whose names are not listed. Those ones are clear indicators that these guys are working in accordance. I'm not saying the ones that their names are there are not working in accordance. I've seen cases of, will I say, deliberate omission, or omission that is made due to error. There are some companies that their names are there, that their names are not even supposed to be there in the first place. So I know, because I've worked with these guys, I've seen their approvals, I've seen everything. There are some approvals, okay? There are some companies that their names have been mentioned. The approvals have been sitting on the table of the office that was supposed to sign since 2020, since last year, some this year, and they have not gotten the required, attention that is needed. So basically, you also want to put that into consideration. So you should work with someone who is aware of these basic approvals and who is ready, okay, to work with this. So these are the basic things that you should look out for. Owing to the fact that my mother's burial is still under preparation, I'm going to be slightly away for some time. But once in a while, when I'm chanced like this, I will come online to talk more, educate real estate investors, and of course, there are more insightful topics that will be coming on. So you want to stay close to this channel, and I'm going to be opening the lines now. Like I said, this is going to be very, very short, direct, and brief. So I'm going to open the lines up for questions, and I will be looking at that. Though one of the reasons why I even had to do this live session today was due to the fact that someone actually messaged me, okay, an investor, and some of the questions I said I was going to be responding to them on this live session, so that the response I'll be giving, okay, will help some other people too, so that they can, have an accurate understanding of how some of these things are. So I'll be responding to some of these questions. So in case you have questions, you can drop it. I think I have just like how many minutes more? Okay, 20 minutes more. Okay, so I think we can still do a lot between under 20 minutes. So please, I'm going to open the floors. The number is +234 802 132 7360. That's the line for questions. If you have questions, you're free to send in your questions, and let us interact as soon as possible. All right, so the floor is open for questions. So you have questions, you are free to ask. All right, okay, so I I think 3 questions, so that even makes my work easier. Okay, you talked about track records. Okay, this is Mr. Z. I'm not going to mention your name. Uh, so you talked about approvals. How do I know if the developer's approval is in progress? And how do I know if the developer has not even made attempt to get it? Okay, well, it depends on the kind of approvals that is being requested for. I also said it at the commencement of this live session, that there are a lot of things that is happening in Lagos, and I think your point or your area of concentration should be, am I working with the right developers? Now, if you are working with the right real estate developers, all these approval issues shouldn't even be mentioned in the first place. And that was one of the reasons why I insisted basically that if you must buy real estate, don't buy only because of price. Now, that is not to say that you should do beyond what you have budgeted for, but most importantly, you need to prioritize brand, and these are some of the things. So it is not even for you to worry if the developers have the required approvals or not. See, this is some of the reason, or these are some of the duties of your realtor or whosoever is representing you or make it. See, there are some. I'm going to be doing a video, like also maybe after my mom's burial, because I'll be traveling. So I'm going to be doing a video why, and I will target, and I tag that video. Okay, why you keep investing in overhyped and overpriced properties. Trust me, you don't want to miss that video for anything. Basically, I'll try as much as possible to make sure the video is on before the end of August. Okay, August is almost ending, or some weeks of December, September. So I'm going to be talking about why you keep buying overhyped and overpriced properties. And that video is going to explain a lot. So that will be because basically it is not your duty, okay, as an investor to worry about developers not getting approval. Basically, for any developers to even start real estate without doing all these things, basically, if the developer is guilty, let me use the word if, is I'll say it's a high case of what irresponsibility from their part. So it is not your duty to worry. But however, for you to avoid situations like this, where the name of the property you have bought is being listed, or a lot of things, because like I said, this obviously is one out of several other regulations that will be coming in the future. So what you should do basically is that to solve and save yourself the embarrassment and the pain and of course the worry of some of these things is buy only from reputable developers. That's all. So prioritize brand over, because the thing is that you don't even know what government will request for tomorrow. But if you have bought with a reputable brand who is aware of these regulations and who is doing everything possible to work in accordance with the regulations, you don't need to worry about it in the first place. So that obviously will answer that question. So I still have some couple other questions very quickly. So this one is talking about, okay, an off-plan project. So I bought an off-plan project earlier this year from a company, and I discovered that the development has been gradual. What do you think I should do? Okay, when you say development has been gradual, well, I really want you to expatiate on that further. But let me tell you why now. Let me start by making some clarifications. I'm speaking from my areas of expertise and from my areas of experience and from the areas of trainings I've received, even as a professional in this industry. Now, that my point now does not necessarily validate what could be the reasons, but I could just, share a light of what I perceive that could be responsible. Okay, now let me start by saying this first. If you are building in Lagos, okay, there are different levels of approvals that is being required. So perhaps, let me use the word perhaps what you might have tagged as being abandoned could be as a result of, okay, let me use this word, could be as a result of the developers waiting for an approval, because you see in Lagos, if you are building, before you even start work, before you move your men, your foremen to sites, okay, for them to check and start construction, there's an approval that must be given. And if you don't have that approval, government can seal up your site. I think I have videos where I was talking about that. Now, while you are doing your foundation, if it's a pile foundation, okay, after you have constructed and you are done, okay, with the pile foundation, the metallurgical and material testing, okay, department of the Lagos State will come and inspect, okay, the integrity of that pile. Now, the period of inspection cannot be outrightly determined, because let's assume I'm the builder, I'm done with my pile foundation. All I need to do is just send a message to Lagos State government, I'm done with my pile foundation. When will your people come, okay, and inspect? So now the days of when they will come to inspect cannot be determined by either the developer. Now that date is solely dependent on government, where they will have time. So when they come to check, okay, there are instances whereby they will have to check the integrity test, they have to check the materials used on site, and if the foundation passes all these tests, okay, then they will give you a go ahead to continue with the construction. Now there are instances whereby some people just keeps on building. Some people keeps on building with that. If they come, we'll give them everything. And when you keep on building, that obviously will attract a heavy penalty, and that is why you see a lot of site that is being locked. Okay, so I'm talking about what could be the problem. So what you might consider as being abandoned could be as a result of either they are waiting for government approval before they can continue the next phase of development, or they have violated some regulations and government have placed that site under temporary seal. So before you come to the conclusion, I'll just advise you investigate further for you to know what could have happened. But these are some of the possible instances of what we have experienced on site, and these are some of the things you can do before you jump into conclusion, or before you can finally say this is what is happening. So I hope that I've answered your question. All right, so I'm just going to take one more video, and I'll call it a wrap, because I said I intend to make it one of the shortest live stream today, and I don't want to keep it unnecessarily long. So I'm going to stick to that. Thank you very much. Okay. A lot of people have been sending me invites. At this point, I think the reason why I'm online basically is just to address some concerns of some of my investors who are online, who have not seen me for some time. That's the reason why I'm on. So I just have to keep my mother's memory preserved, and give her all the necessary honor before and after the viral ride. So that is why I'm going to attend to this. All right. So so I got a question. A property advert dominated the social media scene, and I bought in with the hope that the delivery will be as speedy as promised, but now I'm disappointed. What can I do? Okay. Okay. Oftentimes I have tried as much as I can, okay, to see how I can diplomatically and intelligently respond to some questions. The first thing basically is that, number one, you did not mention the name of the property, and even if you have mentioned it, I won't obviously mention it on this live stream. I don't want court case. All I'm trying to do is just to bury my mother and continue on the low key that I've been. So you didn't mention the name, you didn't mention, you didn't give us the details. So I would not want to read something that I don't have, a whole verified information about. So if you really want me to respond to that question, I think you have to send it again by giving me the details, and we'll probably look at how I can advise you on what to do. But Have we had instances whereby some social media advertisement have dominated the scene, and the project are nothing to room about? From experience, yes, yes. And these are some of the points I intend to discuss on why you keep investing in overhyped and overpriced properties in Lagos. So I'm not going to go into that now, because I want you to anticipate that video. I want you to anticipate that video. But are there instances whereby some property dominated the scene? Everybody, all the realtors you know about, talked about it, and today the properties are in total mess? Yes, plenty gossip. So, but we're looking at that. So okay, I have another question. I think this should be okay. I can take two more. Thank you, Mr. Director. He says I can take two more questions. Okay, so this person says, what is joint venture, and is it advisable to go into to buy a property that is being bought under joint venture? Okay. This is a question I like. Okay, a joint venture basically is when two people come together, okay, by signing some legal terms and agreements. Like, let me expatiate it further. I have a land, okay, I don't have the resources to develop the land, okay, so I met another person who has the resources to develop the land, but he doesn't own the land. So in a joint venture, I can say, okay, fine, I'm going to drop the land, you are going to finance the building project. This will be the sharing formula. Let's say, for instance, you are building 12 units of 2-bedroom apartment. Since it's my land and the value of the land is like maybe 100 million, so instead of paying me 100 million, you give me some units of apartments, and these are, so if the moment I'm able to enter into a contract agreement with someone, we're in joint venture. That's what the joint venture is, when two people co-own or coexist or come together to build a project. Now, the second question says, should I invest in a joint venture? Now, it's a yes and it's a no. Now, it's a yes in the sense that if you have a lawyer that can read the terms of that joint venture. Now, if you are going into property acquisition, kindly note, okay, that there are different kind of ownership, despite the fact that it is joint venture. If you are going into property purchase and there is a joint venture agreement between two parties, kindly know that there are two different kinds of joint venture. We have full ownership and we have leasehold. Now, a leasehold is a situation whereby I have the land, I don't want to sell the land, so but I want someone to develop the land. I can say, okay, fine, I'm leasing this land for 17 years. I'm leasing this land for 20 years. I'm leasing this land for a number of years. Now, the lease agreement will now further state that at the expiration of that 20, 15, 17 years of that lease, I can decide to terminate our agreement, and what you might have constructed on my land automatically becomes mine. So that's why we have a lot of lease projects. And sometimes if you want to buy properties on the mainland, if you are seeing 1-bedroom apartment for maybe 11 million, 12 million, 13 million, you are seeing 2-bedroom apartment for maybe 25, 30 million, kindly note that what you're buying is a leasehold. And a leasehold is that you own that property within that specified number of years that both parties are signing the lease. Because you see, it is very important that we explain this, so that if you are buying properties, a lot of people are bought lease, they are not aware. So I can say, okay, fine. So a lease is like a temporary landlord for some certain number of years. So what you must do basically is that if it's a lease and your lawyer has read the terms and you are quite comfortable with it, of course you can. But in some cases whereby some terms are not so clear and there is some doubts, then I'll say it's a no. So basically, that is what you need to know about lease agreement. I like the question that is coming in. I love the question that is coming in, and that is it. Okay, so I have another question, Mr. Director. Okay, thank you. So I can take more. So this question says, I bought a property somewhere around the Okwaja Abramadesoya axis. It's a bungalow, and today I'm finding it extremely difficult to rent out the property because the man that rented the properties has refused to leave, and when I was able to eject him, he did a lot of damage to properties. What do you suggest I do? Okay. This is a very another intelligent question, and I would say I appreciate this question. Um, when you are buying, you need to understand one thing. I listed one factor. I'm just going to give an expo. I'm going to give an expo, though it's not intentional, but I'm just going to quickly respond to it. Now, when you are buying rental properties, please and please and please, I'm begging in God's name, have the basic knowledge of how the rental market in that area works. I've had instances of properties that some people have been developing till 2020, until the day the people that bought have not been able to rent it out. Because you see, when you are buying properties in some places, what is being marketed is not the actual value. What is being marketed is the future projected value. And because of the fact that it has become extremely difficult, okay, for a real estate investor to identify actual from futuristic value, they are being deceived into buying a property that may not serve the intention of the purchase. And this is why it is very important I explain this. A lot of people have reached out to me that they bought a property in the Okwaja axis and they have found it extremely difficult to rent it. Now, what exactly is the main issue that must have made it extremely difficult for investors, okay, to rent out the properties? Now, you need to understand that this so-called highland, I know a lot of people will come from my head, but you need to hear the truth. You need to know the truth. Some parts of the island, now when I talk about island also includes the ibeju-lekki, maybe not a some parts of the island are not 100% developed as some parts of Lagos. Now, when we look at the developed corridors in Lagos, talking about the Yaba, the Surulere, the Ikeja GRA, Maryland, let's start mentioning this, Ajao Estate. Now, the reason why rent on that place is hot is due to the fact that larger part of these people are not struggling with roads, they are not struggling with drainage, they are not struggling with flood. Are we together? So because of the fact that the mainland development is predictable and it is obvious. However, some parts, now a lot of people may not be comfortable with this, but you still have to know you deserve to know you're an investor. You need to understand where you're putting your money to. So some parts of the island is still and that is still developing. I have drove past some parts. Thank God for this coastal road. See, this coastal road, when completed, is going to save a lot of blushes. It's going to save a lot of anticipated problems. Okay, so kindly note that for the fact that it is Aja, for the fact that it's Songotedo, is Abijo, is Awoyaya, mention all those places on the develop. The island is not as 100% developed as the mainland, as the Surulere, Yaba, Ikeja, Magodo, and other places on the mainland. And that is why today demolition is still happening on some part, because you see, government is still trying to what? To frame that place, okay, to reach what they have. And sometimes, if you have been towards that Gulf, you will notice that that Gulf area is as what? The new Lagos development scheme. So if you are buying, above all the hype and the social media blah 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 blah, you need to understand the facilities in that area so that If you buy, your clients will not be saying, or your tenants will not be saying, I can't rent your house because the road is bad. I cannot rent the house because the water is bad. I cannot rent your house because there is constant flooding. And these are some of the things that people overlooked. So in this kind of situation, what you should do, basically is that please try as much as you can to see how you can fix the apartment and see how you can how you can lower the rents. Because you see, if this thing keeps happening, it will discourage a lot of people from investing on the mainland, on the highland rather. And I've had cases of I would say stubborn tenants and some, if the moment they are being forcefully ejected, they do a lot of damages to the house. I've had several. And that why sometimes if you have a property, please allow your lawyer to handle the rent. Please give it. See, there is not possible for you to be in the diaspora and you want to be controlling. These people have a fee, split it into two, let them handle the rent for you, so that in situations like this. And another thing basically is that prioritize cash flow. Buy more of shortlets. A good shortlet will not give you all these instances and the like. So these are some. Okay, my my director has asked me to stop. If I can't just stop talking, I love doing what I'm doing. So please, this is where I'm going to draw today's curtain. Okay, so tomorrow I may be around, and I think I'll also try and drop a video this Sunday. And the reason I'm doing this basically is just to keep my viewers, my subscribers online. If you are watching this video and you have not subscribed, you see what I've discussed. Trust me, I'm doing a great job. So support me by subscribing. And if you don't want to have any issues concerning real estate, I think you start talking to us. I would not sell what is trending. I will only sell what you need. I will not sell what you think is good. I will sell what will put money in your pockets. Okay. And I am not a regular agent. I'm a property advisor who understands how the market is. So when we have a conversation, okay, I look at what you are intending to achieve with your real estate developer, with your real estate investment. We do a critical evaluation of what will match your expectation and what will constantly, make you. So I make people rich by showing them life transforming investment. So that does not mean all the videos you are seeing that is being advertised, I'm not selling them. There are some people that they don't mind, they just want to have properties. Before I sell to you, I'll let you know this is the area, these are some of the things, and of course you'll be in a better position to make your decision. So basically, my focus is not to sell, my focus is to deliver value. So at least you have an idea of what you're buying, and of course when you're making your decision, then you will now know what will now be your expectation. So I want to say a very big thank you to everybody, and for those who have sent out messages, condolences, their calls, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Of course, I'll be letting you know when the day of the burial is, and I'll be coming back stronger. It's not easy to love one. I've not been myself for a very long time. Even making this video is because I'm trying to be strong. I want to say a very big thank you to everybody that called, and for those that will still call, thank you as well. And let's do this tomorrow by God's grace. Thank you. God bless you. See you by tomorrow by God's grace. Bye for now.